We will proceed in pseudo calculus problems. Okay, we are taking problem, but right now we are fixed in the calculating the circumference of a circle. Means what is the circumference of the circle? Anyway, what we have learned till now, we have learned that repeated addition is multiplication and multiplication is integral calculus. If someone is talking about replacing the problem into calculus, why we need to solve a problem through calculus? That is the big decision that everyone has to take. Why we jump all together into calculus? Why I jump together into algebra? Why I jump all together into vector? Why I need vector? Okay, people would say, let's use vector, let's use calculus, let's use algebra. Means using calculus, algebra, and vector makes things complete but unnecessarily more complicated. Okay, in that fashion, we are saying means we have to understand the miniature science behind mathematics. What is the miniature science behind the mathematics? The miniature science behind the mathematics is addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication. Okay, repeated addition leads to multiplication. If I add something repeatedly, then it leads to multiplication. Multiplication of two items where one item is dependent upon another item and another item is independent and one item is dependent upon other, then we use graphical way to calculate the multiplication, and that in that graphical way we draw two axes. There are two operand into multiplication. Operator is multiplication, one side operand, other side operand, and in between multiplication is there. We draw two axes. One axis can be said as x-axis and y-axis, two axes. The one operand of multiplication, that is independent one, will go along x-axis, and that is dependent upon will go along y-axis. Now we draw the y-axis graph with the x-axis. I have many times I have said this. So if someone is saying I have 2 into 3, then x-axis 3 and y-axis 2. I have 2 into x, then x-axis is variable. Yes, this is where we were replacing number to algebra. Number to algebra. What is 2 into 3? What is 2 into 5? What is 2 into 10? What is 2 into 15? What are you saying always 10, 15, 20? What is 2 into x? Makes sense? So I am writing that 2 into 4, 2 into means I make land up in a situation where I say 2 into 2, 2 into 4, 2 into 15, 2 into 26, 2. Everywhere 2 is there. Why to write so many lines where I can just denote it by 2 into x, where x belongs to a set, where x is an element in a set that is 2, 4, 15, 20, 25 over, or x is an integer number that starts from 0, between 0 to 100, or x is a real valued number, that is float or something like that, that starts from 0.0 up to 10.5, something like that. This is something. So if I'm trying to abridge, if I'm trying to abridge, or if I'm trying to use something called variable when there are too many numbers in the numeric area, then we use kind of algebra. Anyway, now we are saying that if I have to do multiplication of 2 into x, then x-axis any x point and y-axis always constant, that is 2. It forms a rectangle. Means multiplication can be achieved by drawing a graph in the x-axis and y-axis, where x-axis is one of the operand in operator and y-axis is another operand in the operator. Then calculating the area of the drawn graph will give the multiplication. This is we are seeing for the past 1 year. Okay, new terminology has come, that is repeated addition, that leads to more or less multiplication, that also leads to integral calculus. This is what we are talking, repeated addition. Repeated addition. What is repeated addition? Consider this is x-axis. This is x-axis. If this is x-axis, up. Okay, thank you. Consider this is x-axis. Now when x is 0, x is 1, x is 2, x is 3, x is 4. Understandable, right? It is integer. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now when x equal to 0, I have something in magnitude. When x equal to 1, I have something in magnitude. I'm not talking about height, magnitude. If x equal to 2, I have something in magnitude. If x equal to 3, I have something in magnitude. Okay, now can I write this? Whatever I have in magnitude, consider I say as it as h height. Now what is the summation of this height? I can write it is h0 plus h1 plus h2 plus h3 plus h4 plus hn minus 1. Considering there are n pillars are there, what is the net summation? That is h. Consider this is x-axis and this is the height. Okay, height h. Now h when x equal to 0 plus h when x equal to 1 plus when h when x equal to 2 plus h when x equal to n minus 1, or summation sign I equal to 1, I equal to 0 to n minus 1 h. This is called subscript. One is called superscript and one is called subscript. Subscript is bottom right side. Top is superscript and bottom right side, I believe it is called subscript. So h and subscript right bottom small I equal to 0 to n minus 1 hi. This is what we are trying to say. Can I convert into, now consider that h is function over x. Up. H is function over x. What is function over x? Whenever right now I am saying I have h0, h1, h2, h3, but consider h is a function over x. What is function over x? Consider it is a function over x. H equal to x square. H equal to x square. When x is 0, height is 0. When x is 1, then height is 1. When x is 2, height is 4. When x is 3, height is 9. Like that. When x is n minus 1, height is n minus 1 whole square. Okay. Now in that fashion, the summation I can write is n equal to 0 to n minus 1 h. Instead of h, I can write function over x. Small f bracket x bracket close. xi. What is x? This is the net summation. Can I replace with integration? That is the one scenario. Certainly I can replace with integration. Now it is as good as x is from 0 to n minus 1 fx dx. Okay, I did not understand what you did. You did summation of I equal to 0 to n minus 1. Understandable. Then function over x, xi. That was the summation. Okay, then you converted into, now I equal to 0 to n minus 1. Instead of that, integration sign x equal to 0 to n minus 1 fx, simple fx dx. Where from dx came into the picture? Okay, if I say fx dx, if this is x-axis and fx is it is called mass function. Typically in statistics, it is called mass function or point mass function. Point mass function means every point I have one spike. It is not continuous, but still at x equal to 0, I have one value. At x equal to 1, I have one value. When x equal to 2, I have one value. Okay, instead of adding all the value, if each value is function over x, whatever the x is, the spike I see at that point, that spike is dependent upon x. With x is 10, at that moment a spike is 100 x square. Okay, then what are you trying to do? Why you are calculating integration? I talked about addition, right? Now add everything. Consider n equal to 100, then 99, up till 99, 0, including 0, up till 99 all the bars you have to add. Okay, that is summation I equal to 0 to n minus 1 fxi. I equal to 0 to n minus 1 fxi. That is the summation, where from integration, as far as we understand, integration is calculation of the area. Area is very much different to adding all the vertical line. No, it is same here. Why it is same here? That if I take a spike at x equal to 0, next spike I am taking at x equal to 1. Next spike I am taking at x equal to 2. Now in between 1 gap is there. So if I say fx x equal to 0, it is as good as fx x equal to 0 into 1. Fx x equal to 1 into 1 into 1. 1 is hidden. I can rewrite it as summation I equal to 0 to n minus 1 fxi into delta xi. Up. Summation fxi into delta xi, where delta xi is constant 1. Makes sense? In that fashion, it will become fx dx. Okay, when it will not become fx dx? That is the question mark. When it will not become fx dx means, now consider that I am taking x equal to 0. I have given this example also. Consider I am taking x equal to 0. Now x is real value rather than integer. Now I am taking one snapshot when x equal to 0, another snapshot when x equal to 0.25, another snapshot when x equal to 0.3, another snapshot when x equal to 1, another snapshot when x equal to 1.5. Like this, I have taken 1000 snapshot when x equal to 0 to 10. Between x equal to 0 to 10, I have taken 100 snapshot. Now I am writing I equal to 0, I equal to 0 to I equal to 100, I equal to 0 to I equal to 100, and then fxi, function over xi. This is the summation I am making. Okay, now x is actually only from 0 to 10. I have made 100. Now I and x are different. 100 slices if I am making for a function, then it is I equal to 0 to 100 minus 1 fxi. This is not same as integration of x 0 to 10, because x is only 0 to 10 only. Fx dx. Okay, it is not same, because that what I am taking and adding it 100 times, that will be much bigger than x equal to 0 to 10 fx dx. Then what is equivalent? What is what? Okay, in that fashion, how I can say that our summation I equal to 0 to n minus 1 fxi is same as integration of x. Mind it, summation is I to n minus 1 fxi, whereas integration in x is limit is x in x, whereas summation is in I. Now, if I say I have I that is 0 to n minus 1, n is 100, summation of I equal to 0 to n minus 1 fxi, where we are taking 100 vertical line between x equal to 0 to 10. If I add all 100 lines, that result will be completely different than I do fx dx, because area will, I believe it is all right. Every session I am giving this example, it's like, so if this is the x equal to 0, if this is x equal to 0 and this is x equal to 10, if I draw function that is x square, I have taken as function, y equal to x square, fx equal to x square. If I draw x square will go like a curve. If I draw x square, then I can make 10 snapshots. 10 snapshots. Each snapshot will be width 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Whatever the vertical line I am getting in each snapshot, I can multiply with the width that is 1. I can multiply with the width that is 1. I can multiply with the width that is 1. Means every vertical is more or less area 1. Then I add all the chopped area, I'll get the full area, and full area is fx dx, where x is 0 to 10. But here if I take too many snapshots between 0 to 10x, and if I do fx dx x equal to 0 to 100, it will be very big. But anyway, I can do summation I equal to 0 to 100 or 99 fxi. how I can convert it into integration? That is a big question. Or if I say I have x equal to 0 to 10 and fx dx, how I can convert it back into the discrete heights, not continuous height. Then it will be I equal to 0 to n minus 1 fxi into delta xi. Anyway, that is the complete thing, that while migrating from the summation to integration, if someone remember, we added delta xi between each bar, what is the gap we are taking? The gap by default is 1, but here it is not 1. If it is not 1, then we have to take the gap into consideration. Okay, if I take gap into consideration, then summation of I equal to 0 to n minus 1 fxi delta xi can be transformed into fx dx, where x is 0 to 10, because after all x is 0 to 10 only. I made 100 slices in that. What is delta xi? Delta xi talks about what is the gap we have taken. Like if I take one snapshot at x equal to 0, and another snapshot at x equal to 0.25, another snapshot when x equal to 0.3, another snapshot when x equal to 0.4, then summation will be I equal to 0 to n minus 1 fxi delta xi. If I break it, it becomes fx at x equal to 0 delta x 0 at 0, that is 0.25, plus fx when x equal to 0.25, when delta xi is 0.05, 0.25 to 0.3. Okay, then plus fx at x equal to 0.4, zero point 0.3, delta xi is 0.3 to 0.4, 0.1. If I add in this fashion, then I can put it to integration. Means if I go for the finer slices of the vertical line, then I have to mention delta xi. All delta xi may not be the same, but all delta xi must not overlap on each other. They should be independent. What I'm trying to say, delta x1, delta x2, delta x3, delta x1 is 0 to 0.25, 0.25 gap. Delta x2, that is 0.25 to 0.3, 0.05 gap. Delta 3, that is 0.3 to 0.4, zero point 0.1 gap. If delta x1, delta x0, delta x1, delta x2 all are non-overlapping, then I can go with the dx, no problem. We will do more session into it when we talk about artificial intelligence, that is pending, and we will do with the probability and this kind of thing. Very interesting, where we can estimate something, that what is going to happen. Will it really rain today or not rain today? Because it is looking cloudy, but we will have many features or independent components which will do the actual computation, and their main thing is person has to understand the miniature science behind it. What is the miniature science behind the integration? Anyway, we are in phase of calculating. We are in phase of calculating the kind of the curve length. So, what is the curve length for a circle? Where radius may be independent of the theta. If this is x-axis, then this is the y-axis. If this is x-axis, then this is y-axis. Okay, in that fashion, radius starts from angle 0 and radius starts moving like this, and it forms angle theta. So right now this radius is making 0 degree, and the way it is moving, the theta angle is growing, and it is reaching 360 or 0 degree back. Now we talked about making this radius, making this radius is making full 360 degree. Okay, now making a kind of a wedge kind of shape. Now this, if radius moves a little bit, I make a section. Then I radius moves little bit again, I make this section. Radius move little bit again, I made this section, small section. Section by section, I am dividing it. So if radius is moving from 0 angle to 360 degree angle, 2 pi angle, I have made n section. This is the first section. this full area. Full area is the first section, or if I talk in the circumference, then this arc is the first arc. Then I take another section. Now this arc is the second arc. I take third section. Then this arc is the third arc. Like that I have n arc. If I know that, consider that I have divided it into equal angle. This delta theta is equal for all the sections, not required that it will be equal. I have taken it as an equal. Consider, if I take it as equal, then whatever it is, what for the ith section, this is x-axis, this is first section, this is second section, this is third section. For the any ith section, what is this? What is this arc? If I see what is this arc for the ith section, what is this arc? If I know this arc length, then I can multiply by n, then I can get the full arc. If I don't take this delta theta as constant, everywhere delta theta may vary, then I can write the full arc length is summation of I equal to 0 to I equal to 1 to n. Considering this is x-axis, this is the first arc, second arc, third arc, like that. If the arc is going like this, then I can say summation of I equal to 0 to n, I equal to 1 to n. This is not theta, this is I. That's why I am differentiating. In the previous, I talked about I and x. Here it is I and theta. Okay, if I proceed in ith section, summation of I equal to 1 to n, and then the arc length, consider the arc length is Li. What is the arc length? Li. So summation of I equal to 1 to n Li, arc length Li. If I add all the arc length, where arc length may not be same, but they are non-overlapping, then it will give the perimeter. What is the arc length for the ith section? Arc length, if I talk about the ith section, we have talked about it. We have taken, people would say that it is arc delta theta I. If this is the radius, if I talk about the ith section, and these are the two radius, and this is delta theta I, then radius into delta theta I gives the arc length. But this is only possible when radius is unchangeable. Means we are making the radius move, but radius is not changing. If radius is changing, here radius is different, and here after delta theta I, radius becomes small. Then this arc length will not be r delta theta I. That is wrong thing. In that fashion, we proceeded and we talked about x-axis and y-axis. This is x-axis and this is y-axis. In that fashion, if this angle is delta theta I is the ith section, and delta theta I, then from this point to this point, there is change in x-axis, and this point to this point, this point to this point, there is change in y-axis. Consider this is delta yi, and this is delta xi. In that fashion, this is called hypotenuse. This is hypotenuse, this is base, and this is the perpendicular. What is the hypotenuse? That is delta xi whole square plus delta yi whole square root. Okay, but this is arc, not the hypotenuse. So arc is different than hypotenuse. What is the hypotenuse? If I talk about the hypotenuse between 2 points, if I take this point and this point, hypotenuse, it will pass through the circle. Okay, but if delta theta is very small, if delta theta is very small, then this arc and this straight line will be same. This is the approximation. In that fashion, the arc length will be delta xi whole square plus delta yi whole square root. Now I know the ith section arc length. Ith section arc length is the square root of delta xi whole square plus delta yi whole square. Okay, now I can write the full arc is summation of I equal to 1 to n. N section I have divided. Square root of delta xi whole square plus delta yi whole square. Okay, if this is the summation, then now I can, if this is the summation where it is chopped into many I sections, It is chopped into many I sections. But each delta x, now delta x will proceed along x-axis, not along the theta. Theta is proceeding like this. If this is radius, then theta is proceeding like this. Okay, whereas delta x, what we are talking, delta x will proceed like this in x direction. Delta y will proceed in vertical direction. Okay, but all delta xi, delta x1, delta x2, delta x3, all are non-overlapping. If that is the case and summation is there, I equal to 1 to n, where all I will come under the subset of 2 pi. In that way, we can represent delta xi and delta yi with dx dy. This is what we said. So now the full parameter become integration and square root of dx square plus dy square. Make sense? Now please watch our previous 2-3 video where we have done many things here. Anyway, now we said that delta x square plus delta y square root is a synonym of a magnitude of a vector, that is dxi plus dyj. If I have a vector that is dxi plus dyj, its magnitude is exactly a square root of dx square plus dy square. Same thing. Okay, means I can rewrite that integration of magnitude of a vector, that is dxi plus dyj. Okay, that is same as d. D is derivative of in a bracket of a vector that is xi plus yj. If I have a vector xi plus yj, derivative of vector xi plus yj is dxi plus dyj. Means magnitude of d of p, where p is xi plus yj, is the net circumference over integration. If that is the case, then d of p can be written as dp by dx into dx, that we have seen. Then again it can be written as dp by d theta into d theta. Okay, people will say, I don't trust your dp by dx and dp by d theta, then you brought a vector. Can you solve it in simple manner? Okay, I'll solve it in simple manner. What is simple manner? Integration, a square root dx whole square plus dy whole square. This is what we are trying to solve. Okay, dx whole square plus dy whole square, a square root. Okay, if that is the case, what is dx and what is dy? Okay, x is now consider we will change into polar coordinate system. Dx whole square plus dy whole square root. Hope. What is problem here? Problem is that we cannot assign the integration. Integration is only one because independent component is x only. But we have dx and dy. Both are varying. We want one independent component here. We are talking about the length. If length is coming into the picture, there will be one independent component. But we have like two, dx and dy. Let's take polar coordinate system. X equal to r cos theta, y equal to r sin theta, where r is function over theta. R is not constant. X is function over r and theta. X equal to r cos theta. Y is function over r and theta. Y equal to r sin theta. dx will become dx. I can write as if I see this dx, I can write as dx by d theta into d theta. dy I can write as dy by d theta into d theta. Makes sense? X equal to r cos theta. Dx will be r d cos theta plus cos theta dr bracket d theta. Makes sense? Okay, because what we did is dx equal to whatever is there by d theta into d theta. By d theta, if I say, then r into d cos theta by d theta plus cos theta into dr by d theta, because r is function of theta. If r is not function of a theta, then dr by d theta will be 0. Okay, but it is function of theta. Now r is how much? Consider I have r equal to cos theta. Consider r equal to cos theta. Consider r equal to cos theta. In that fashion, it becomes dx equal to r, that is cos theta, and then d cos theta by d theta minus sin theta minus cos theta sin theta plus cos theta and then dr by d theta, d of cos theta again minus sine theta. It becomes minus 2 cos theta sine theta d theta. Now, what this is dx, what is dy now? Dy, if we take, then it is d of r sine theta by d theta into d theta, or d of sine theta plus sine theta dr by d theta outside d theta. It becomes r is cos theta, and d of sine theta by d theta is cos theta, cos square theta, plus sine theta d of plus sine theta d of cos theta minus sine theta, cos square theta minus sine square theta. Now let's place there. Now we have integration. Now integration limit will be only theta, because theta is only independent component here. R is function over theta only. Theta will go 0 to 2 pi as per the polar coordinate system. Otherwise we can find theta. There is nothing big here. But anyway, theta is 0 to 2 pi. For simplicity, take it for granted that we have converted the circle into polar coordinate system. In that fashion, if I made I part, then I part constitutes 0 to 2 pi in theta variation. Theta is 0 to 2 pi square root dx whole square plus dy whole square. Dx is minus 2 cos theta sine theta. That will become 4 cos square theta sine square theta. Okay, plus cos square theta minus sine square theta whole square. Now keep as it is outside d theta, because in dx and dy d theta was outside, d theta outside. What is now 4 cos square theta sine square theta plus cos to the power 4 theta plus sine to the power 4 theta minus 2 cos square theta sine square theta. We have now 4 cos square theta sine square theta, and there we have minus cos square 2 cos square theta sine square theta. So that will go away. Only I believe 2 cos square theta sine square theta will remain. It will become cos to the power 4 theta plus sine to the power 4 theta plus 2 cos square theta sine square theta square root. It will become cos square theta plus sine square theta whole square square root. It will become cos square theta plus sine square theta. It will become 1 d theta. That's it. 1 d theta. Theta integration 0 to 2 0 to 2 pi. 2 pi is the circumference. Okay, let's see the circumference what we calculated. Circumference of the circle, that is r equal to cos theta, that is the actual circle. We have talked it many times that r equal to cos theta, the equation of the circle is actually like this. If this is the center, then circle is like this. Rather than center at origin is centered at the center of the circle is centered at the origin. Circle is like this with radius 1 by 2. Okay, in that fashion, the theta, the radius moves 0 to pi by 2, and then it becomes negative r equal to cos theta. When theta equal to 0, radius is 1. When theta r is moving and when theta is growing, radius is shrinking. When theta is 90 degree, radius is 0. When theta is beyond a 90 degree, radius start growing, but it is negative. This radius will grow in this direction, that is positive. And then it will become a completely 1 when theta is pi. It makes circle when theta is going 0 to pi only, not 2 pi. So we will rephrase our integration limit. Theta is 0 to pi only, and then d theta pi. Pi is the circumference of the circle. Let's try. This circle equation we had tried, and it is x square x minus 1 by 2 whole square plus 1 y square equal to 1 by 2 whole square. X square plus y square is how much? If x equal to r cos theta, y equal to r sin theta. If this is x axis and this is the radius, any moment radius is at what angle from the x axis? If it is angle theta, then x axis intersection on x axis is r cos theta. X square plus y square equal to r square cos square theta plus r square sin square theta, where r equal to cos theta. In that sense, it becomes x square plus y square equal to x. Someone can calculate. It will become x minus 1 by 2 whole square plus y square equal to 1 by 2 whole square. It will form a circle of radius 1 by 2 centered at 1.2, 0. This is y axis and this is x axis. The circumference is 2 pi r. We know it. 2 pi r is 1 by 2. That is pi 1. Pi. This is what we also calculated. Pi. Anyway, do you have other methodology? We have other methodology also. That is purely into polar coordinate system. But we can proceed like this also. Integration, a square root of dx square plus dy square. This is what we are talking. Okay, a square root of dx square plus dy square. I can take dx out. No one stops us. Then dx square I can take out. Dx square, if I take out square root, it will become dx only. Now I can rewrite it as square root of 1, because dx I took out. Square root of 1 plus dy by dx whole square into dx. Makes sense?